all set to welcome all of you right here at this Fireside chat where we will be discussing a lot around IT operations in a hybrid world, support to work from home culture, like all of us are meeting on this very platform from home, in fact, from anywhere, boosting productivity with cloud-based collaboration, improving business continuity with disaster recovery, and so much more. And minds that are putting all this together and more are a very warm welcome to Mr. KRC Murty, Senior Vice President, Head of RTB, Kotak Mahindra Bank. May I also extend a warm welcome to Mr. Manoj Paul, Managing Director, GPX India. May I also present you Mr. Suresh, Komirishetty, CIO, Mercedes-Benz India, and a very warm welcome to our moderator. Weaving it all together is going to be Mr. Biswajit, Director, KPMG in India. Over to you, gentlemen. Looking forward to a fantastic interaction.
Thank you, Isha. As always, right? It's brilliant. It's a beautifully uplifting experience to be really, announced brought on air by you. You naturally feel cheerful and like good stuff is going to happen now, right? And I remember in the old days, every time we would have a conversation, weather used to always be like a hot topic of conversation, right? Was it raining? It's too warm. It's unseasonal, and so on and so forth. And even today, it is no different. Though the only difference is now it is a certain aspect of that. So cloud still dominates the conversation, whether it is boardrooms or dining rooms everywhere. But having said that, we are in 2021. So obviously, by now we all know that cloud in various ways has almost revolutionized how you look at technology infrastructure and ecosystems, right? In many ways, initially by turning the CapEx, OpEx equation on its head, but now I think more and more we are looking at cloud beyond infra in terms of the capabilities, in terms of tools, which are all stitched together to be able to give you flexibility of choice and scale on demand, right? And today I have a fairly easy job because we have three brilliant minds on the panel, all who are really at the forefront of what is happening on the cloud. And hopefully we'll be able to take away some firm pointers which will help all of us, right, in our cloud journey. Manoj, I wanted to come to you first. Obviously, now there are many options and there is no one shoe fits all in how you go to cloud today, right? Multiple strategies of going to cloud, hybrid, multi-cloud, so on and so forth. Right. I want to know, how is there a wireframe? Is there a strategy of how you can sort of take advantage of this interconnectedness of cloud service providers, of open cloud exchanges, etc.? Manoj.
Yeah, thanks, Biswajit. Well, let me step back a bit and paint a picture before I tell how interconnection can be used. So enterprises are going through a difficult, I would say, different time frame because of the COVID lockdown. The ways of doing businesses have changed. And however, we realize that some businesses are doing even better than what they were doing earlier. Take the example of these webinars. There was a time when in April, May, June, it was assumed that these event companies would have really big difficulty in doing their businesses because gatherings and all that have been stopped and all their events would not happen for a quite long time. But here we are, we are participating in a webinar where we all sitting at our homes are being able to participate. What I believe is not only there are more number of events happening than earlier, because earlier you have to go and fix a spot, fix a hotel and organize the stage and all that. And the maximum you can do is maybe one event a quarter or something like that. Now we see an event happening nearly every week. And also, of course, naturally the costs are down because you don't have to incur many of the costs of so many people and other things. So this technology of video conferencing, the platforms that are being used, is really enabling these companies to do more number of events, have wider participation, lower costs. And I do agree that the sponsorship money might have reduced a bit, but if you see the increased number of events and lower cost, the margins would surely be much better than what it was earlier. So enterprises who have been able to leverage technologies are really doing even better. So we take an example of a situation wherein an enterprise has an in-house data center. So what happened during this COVID lockdown was that since they had their data center within their office, one floor or half floor was converted data center, during the lockdown, their engineers could not reach their office premises to tweak the air conditioning or the electricity or any repair work that needed to be done. Not only that, even the IT infrastructure, if something needs to be rebooted or something had to be done, they could not do any of that. Another big thing that happened was that the LAN traffic shifted into WAN. The employees who were accessing the servers from LAN, they now were accessing the servers from internet. So they had a lot of problem because when they went to their service providers, hey, can you upgrade their bandwidth? They realized that in their building, they had only one or two telecom service providers and they were not ready to upgrade their bandwidth in a short period of time. So it becomes very necessary for enterprises to have a strategy where they are ready in a position to leverage technology in such situations. So for instance, if this in-house data center company would have had their DC in a data center like GPX, multiple things would have happened. First is that data centers come under ESMA, so we can provide 24/7 services without any disruption. Our engineers were able to come to the data center all the time. More importantly, since we have around 12 telecom service providers and 170 ISPs, you need additional bandwidth, you have multiple options over there. So your traffic into your servers and other things increased. You could have increased the bandwidth at no point of time for multiple of these service providers and maybe even bargained a better price. Second aspect of it is leveraging cloud. Now, when you are in your own prem, then naturally, if suppose suddenly a cloud, suppose you need more servers or more instances of storage, you cannot really scale it up. But in our data center, you can connect to a cloud service provider over a direct connect. So you can leverage that at any point of time. And best advantage is that since the cloud exchange and the cloud service providers are located within the data center and you connect it over a LAN cable, you are on a 10G connectivity. So you have that option of multiple cloud service providers. We have around 8 cloud service providers in a data center. Connect to them, keep connected, 0 bandwidth, 100 meg bandwidth. Any point of time you want to go live with AWS or Google or Oracle, all these 3 are present in the data center. Go to that console, bring it up, and you are live with them. You leverage the cloud exchange on a single port. You connect to all 3, one of them, and then you say that, hey, I want to use AWS for compute, but Google for storage, and Oracle for something else. On one single port, you have the flexibility for doing all that. And also, of course, there are examples of DR on the cloud, which we are going to discuss later on. So once you are properly located in a tier 4 data center like ours, where 24/7 support is available, where all the ecosystem of cloud is available, your transition and your flexibility to shift gears and change directions are much easier to achieve. And that's what I think enterprises need to look at. Are they flexible enough? Is their strategy enabling them to shift gears at any point of time that they want?
No, Manoj, I think absolutely correct. I've also seen that this is a horses for courses sort of a thing, Manoj, right? I have heard some very diverse reasons for organization going to a cloud, and I think one of the ones which I found the strangest for me at that point of time, but when I thought back, was one of the most pragmatic reasons. So there is this organization in Kerala. They are probably one of the world's largest manufacturers of essence, so very high-end essence, etc. Right, essential oils and so on and so forth. And overnight, they decided to go to cloud for a family-run business. That seemed to have been a fairly aggressive decision. When I asked, what she told me is that we were having, labor disputes. So one day they cleared out the entire factory, right, and shut down ingress and egress. And my data center was inside the factory. And what they did is they cut off the main electricity lines, the main power lines, right? And we suddenly decided, listen, we can't be held hostage. While my production is halted, at least the rest of my business should go on. So I've seen some very strange reasons, but finally, right, it ends up as the outcome being, it gives you flexibility. You are not responsible for keeping the lights on, right? Plus, you can adapt and adopt so many best-in-class components which are there on the cloud.
Yeah.
And see, whichever way we look at the pandemic, obviously it's been a terrible situation. But I think there has been some silver lining to this entire cloud, right? Some silver linings, for example, how Mother Nature got to take a breather, how we got to take a step back and sort of reconnect back with people who really matter, our family, our friends, etc. So all of that happened. The other thing that happened, I think, is it became the de facto accelerator for a lot of organizations to sort of wake up from this entire slumber of, yes, we know it has to be done, we will do it, but we are figuring out the pros and cons. And then everybody figured out, right? And KRC, I wanted to bring you in here because while yours is not an organization which really needed this push. You guys were already there. But as a sector, the FS sector hasn't really covered itself in glory in terms of going to cloud, right? Let's be honest here, right? So how did the pandemic sort of impact the BFSI sector, and how is it now change the outlook for the near future?
Yeah, thanks, Biswa, for having me here, and good afternoon, everyone. I personally believe that while COVID is something not good to good thing to happen to the world, it has really changed a lot of things for technology professionals and and the initiatives and projects across the world, right? I'm sure my fellow panelists will and viewers will agree that the DC world during COVID world has given a super boost vaccine to the technology projects. While humans are getting the vaccine now, the technology projects got it last year itself. That's how I look at it. It really accelerated a lot of initiatives. Some of which may have some initiatives which you may have done over 3 years, if not 5, have just got done in 1 year. I have seen that kind of pace. I've never seen that kind of pace in projects getting implemented over my 25 years of experience so far, right? The first few months of the pandemic has been a standstill, lockdowns, etc. Made the world think on what needs to be done and how. The implementation of many initiatives, took jet speed schedule and saw the day of light. Otherwise it would have taken years together to get those projects implemented. The kind of push which came from all the stakeholders, especially from our end, and the spends which have happened is mind-boggling. Biswa, you touched it right. While we were always digital first and we were there, from a technology perspective, from a banking, services perspective. At Kotak, digital first has been in our DNA anyway. However, the COVID period has only accelerated all our initiatives and brought up the projects up the table and staggered it launched quite a few initiatives. Let me give one of the initiatives which we launched during pandemic, the video KYC. We were the first bank in India to launch a video KYC. That was the need of the moment. I need to keep my business up and running. Otherwise, it would have actually, seen the day of light a few months down the later or a year down the later. But, that really took the push and we had to launch it. We developed completely an end-to-end, paperless digital documentation system called eSign, which enables disbursement of MSME loans, etc., without any physical interaction. So these kind of projects really took over the entire, schedule and limelight during the COVID period. I think somehow I would thank COVID for being there and assisting us to, see maybe a lot of, maybe some generations would see this kind of, period or no, I don't know, but I'm glad to be there.
Yes, I think, see, the only thing we can do is take the best things out of an overall very bad situation and move ahead, right? And I think this is one of the better things that has come out of this.
Like when lemons are thrown at you, make lemonade. So
lemonade, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Manoj.
Hey, so we have the similar situation where we get revenue only when a customer goes live, right? So there was a customer who had shipped 100 racks of equipment, but it was lying because suddenly after that the COVID restrictions happened and their engineers could not come in. So we said, hey, why don't we install, make it rack stack everything, put all the connections, you give us all the details and you configure it from your end. Well, in 1 month, we did everything for them and they did not have to send their engineers and they went live and our revenue started. And the customer also realized, hey, really, was it doable by you guys, then why was I planning to send people from US and France to configure this when it can be done? So going forward also, we'll get you guys to do it and we'll configure it from the remote. So it was such a win-win scenario, which will have a long-term impact. Going forward, that customer has decided that we'll use most of the data center service provider services for all these racking stacking. If required, one guy can visit there for 2 days, finish it up, and then make it live. So some of the implications are going to be long-term.
No,
That's
absolutely.
why you have to leverage some of these opportunities. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think see what has also happened is some glass ceilings got shattered, right? Physical co-location is no longer something that people even talk about or should be talking about. So that's something that we got out of the COVID. One of the things that I got out of what you said, KRC, I'm gonna borrow this from you, is how now we look at humanity's timelines slightly differently. There's BC, there is AD, and now we have DC, which is during COVID. Hopefully, sometimes we'll have PC also, which will be post-COVID, right? So the entire calendarization of humanity has slightly changed, I think. And from there, I think, Suresh, I wanted to come to you as an organization which is known for its products, which are so customer focused, customer centric, right? And I love the fact that your vehicles, right, they are not just focused on one part of the customer. So you're looking at, there is a different focus on the driver. So you certain focus there. You have stuff which is built specifically for the shotgun rider. You have stuff which is built specifically for the comfort and safety of people sitting behind you. So in a vehicle, if it's built to take 4 people, there are different aspects which are targeted very directly into them, right? And which is why it's not surprising that even as a technology arm of an organization that makes these vehicles, right? Even there, I think your philosophy is customer first, right? And how you, so that's what I really wanted to talk about, saying how does that approach and then the whole cloud story, how does that segue into each other?
Thanks, Biswa. Thanks for having me here. And I think that's the right context that say internally we do have this topic and it's always a benchmark that it's not. So we provide the experience to the customers, to the products, but it's those days. I mean, today it's a combination, and entire IT world or the experience, online experience comes into the picture. This made actually more or less everything. This changed. If I look at last 5 years and where we are focusing, everything in IT we do today is quite different from what we have been doing. And this is primarily because we moved our employee from center, which has been the focus earlier, and the efficiency as a focus. Now today, we talk about customer in the center. The moment we talk about customers are all over and their expectations are different. And also the kind of journey, in an organization, you can define 10 steps and everybody follows it and it happens. But it's not what you can do with customer. Customers wants to start their journey in their life cycle from where they wherever they want. I mean, actually depends on what life cycle they are in the buying phase. This means the world of change for us, and we have to change everything, how we do IT and how we look at our IT landscape. And this is where now we moved away from our integrated systems to completely, disintegrated, loosely coupled API-based systems, and we completely focus on fast. And we want to leverage the computing, cloud. I mean, cloud comes very naturally into this cycle because when you want to connect with the world and then you change. By the way, when we talk about providing the differentiated experience, it's not that everything that we can do internally, and we want to go to cloud sourcing or citizen development kind of a concept. We need to be there. So it's not really, honestly, it's just an efficiency. We look at it today. Our IT focus is about customer loyalty, customer experience, and of course revenue growth. When I look at all three aspects, the cloud and entire IT comes into the center. So it's a big transformation that we have been going through last 5 years, and I think the journey hasn't finished, and cloud will play a big role in our next steps.
No, I think Suresh, absolutely bang on, right? What I really like is that core technology people, right? Like all of us, not necessarily me, but all of you on the call, we have now have center stage in boardroom conversations because we are no longer just enablers, right? We are where new ideas are being generated. We are where new insights are being generated. We used to be mandated with saving money. Now we are also being mandated with making money, right? And that's a massive mind shift in what's happening in the industry across when it comes to technology, right? And then and therefore, maybe KRC, I just wanted to come back to you for a moment because this has been a bone of contention. But in recent years, we've seen how the entire FS as an industry, especially in India, right, how it has totally almost taken a 360-degree U-turn on what they're thinking about in terms of their future cloud plans, right? So maybe a quick insight into that, because that, I think, right, while FS has regulatory bodies because of which they had to be, but the same considerations are as, apt for other industries also, because finally, just because nobody is looking over your shoulder doesn't mean you do not need to be security conscious and so on and so forth. So maybe just a little bit on that, KRC, maybe.
Yeah, I think Biswa, you already mentioned it, right? In my view, cloud is now a necessity rather than a choice. Now which flavor of cloud is suited for each organization is up to them to decide. In banking, as you rightly mentioned, it's a highly regulated entity. It's difficult to adopt a public cloud, especially keeping in mind the security, regulatory, and compliance. Across the flavors. Having said this, we have adopted private and hybrid cloud as a strategy and containerization model for few of our applications, right? Now we started with our internal applications, then moved some of our non-client data bearing applications onto the cloud, right? Definitely I'm not going to put my core banking onto the cloud or my critical key client applications onto the cloud. We believe that it's going to be a catalyst for business transformation, and it's going to be a game changer anyway. You have to be there, whether you like it or not. It would be it would give you a better business continuity, agility, and we all know building resilient operations and all sorts of stuff. For me, the crux of the story is to move my most of my applications to a private and a hybrid cloud. API is one of the journey which we have looked at. That's one thing which we have started 3 years back. That really works well, especially with my legacy applications, which it might be, as we call as when I say legacy, it is not like 20-30 years they get they. However, applications become obsolete so fast that what today it's in thing is not there tomorrow. The millennials, the thought process is completely changing. It is at a much faster rate. The other thing is the partnerships with the in the ecosystem, right? You partner with fintechs and you partner with other technology companies. That's how I look at it. But in any way, we are there. Cloud is an essential part of your journey. You can't ignore it.
Yeah, I think absolutely right. I've just been given a time check, so what I'm quickly going to do is find at the end. I would want to hear from Manoj about a few of these, customers and clients and case studies. But before we go there, Suresh, you have had an interesting journey on the cloud. So I just thought maybe a little bit about a journey and then some key takeaway for everybody on the forum of what we should be looking, to do there.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, we had a really very interesting journey so far, and as I said, it's still on the way. And our focus of looking cloud, honestly, is not the drive for cost saving. I think, at least so far, we haven't seen that's the biggest aspiration for sure, not at all. But I'd already talked about customer experience, so we have a very strong focus on integrating seamlessly the customer's online and offline journey. They come online, they go to our dealerships, or they go to dealerships and they go online, and we need to ensure this is happening seamlessly wherever they're entering from into whatever devices they are doing, whatever they're doing. Everything has to be synchronized, and this has been our focus or the push towards cloud. Further, we also realized cloud is not about infra, and the cloud as an industry outside now has grown much bigger. Sometimes it's bigger than probably one of our industry itself. You know, the companies have grown so big, and investments that are going into cloud is so high. Definitely, you know, we cannot match that doing everything in house, and that's one big realization we had early on, thankfully, and that made it very clear for us. Cloud is not a strategy. It's an essential thing for us to move. And also a lot of innovation when we talk about utilizing today's smart, or what you call, intelligent applications, or intelligent cloud, or intelligent edge, or the combination of this. The only choice we have is we have to enter. And I'm not saying we have to move everything to the cloud. We don't do this. I mean, this is definitely not the idea that we want to move all applications. Basically, we look all our applications into two categories, if I can essentially say. One is all the applications that we focus on, what we call systems of records. These are essentials and sometimes the legacy, or sometimes what we need to keep the business running. And we also have systems of innovation, or the differentiation. That's what we call. These are where we actually touch customer, and we enable the experience to the customer and to the customer ecosystem. And when it comes to systems of records, and generally these are the applications which are quite matured in the industry. They're very simple. We try focus to SaaS, that to cloud-based native SaaS. That's the thought process we're driving towards. But when we talk about systems of innovation, of course, there is no other competitor or whether product that we have it, and this is what we drive. And this is where, of course, our strategy differs, and we think of going into PaaS, and this is currently, honestly, that's the biggest focus for us. This is where we want to focus and develop this to be a differentiated product. And yes, I already touched upon, we want to go into FOSS. If you want to have all the citizen developers to come in, more than anything, when we talk about innovation, differentiation, speed, then cloud comes in. So there are many reasons why we want to be in cloud ecosystem, and that's where we are going in. And the last but the most important topic when we talk about cloud is the data. And when we think about data, when we think about making sense of the data and leverage machine learning or artificial intelligence, all is in cloud. I mean, this is what we want to achieve through cloud, and that's been the focus. So that remains. That's been our journey and the learnings. But yeah, you also asked me what are the key takeaways. Just let me summarize quickly. I would say anybody who's moving into cloud, I again repeat this, it's not a strategy, it's essential topic today, and we have to be very smart in choosing a partner because it's a long-term relationship, and the trust is in essence the factor for choosing a partner. And a partner who also come along, at least for us, it's very important, the one who's putting his stakes along with us, his reputation along with us, because the security of our data and is utmost important to us. And this is something we cannot go away. So we need a partner who actually matches to our aspiration. And this is what you have to also look for there, a partner who wants to who is aspiring to match to your expectations in terms of reputation and the investments. The last two things that I want to touch is don't go into this lift and shift approach. I don't think this will pay off not much as you want to leverage about the cloud. And being prepared for cloud is another aspect. I just touch upon two aspects here. First, identify your IAM strategy. I think it was already touched in this discussion. You have to have your way how you want to have this access management ready, so that online, offline, multi-cloud scenarios you are ready. This is essential for you to be scaling up faster. And then how do you measure your risk and assess your cloud risk, and whether talk about contractual risk or security risk, governance risk. You have to think, you have to put your brains and prepare for it. These are two things which you have to be ready if you want to zoom into your cloud journey.
I think absolutely right, Suresh. Right. I'm going to borrow something from one of my mentors who says this. He says, "Thou shalt cloud," is what we used to say 2 years back. Now we say, "Thou shalt cloud a lot." Right? Because it's not just like I keep saying, it's beyond infra. It's a lot of other things. And coming back to that, right? I just wanted to, Manoj, maybe just to round it off, right? One of the things that we have seen is the quickest benefits is sometimes from very practical things like putting DR on cloud, for example, right?
Yeah.
Nothing more than that. So maybe just a quick, because I think we have 3 minutes left. If you could just give us a quick flavor of what clients are doing there.
Thank you, Sayed. I think we have been talking about cloud journey, and many enterprises, not KRC and Suresh, who are already in the cloud journey, but others are thinking of it, and they said, hey, there's time for me to get into it. So we believe that the easiest and the best and the simplest way to get on cloud is to have your DR on cloud. And we have a customer, Mahindra Gas Limited. They were in an in-house data center earlier. They shifted to our data center, leverage all the benefits of Tier 4. That was 4 years back. But then they realized what's next. So we told them then, hey, why don't you put your DR on the cloud? But DR is something that you use once in a blue moon. You don't really need to use it all the time. And then having resources already capped up for DR, which you're going to use once in a blue moon, it does not make sense. And we could show it to them that since you put the DR on the cloud and the cloud service providers bill you only when you use, and they bill you only when you pull the data out, not when you push the data in, it makes a lot of business sense. So our whole proposition to all cloud yet to be initiated enterprises is to start with DR on the cloud. And if you have a DC in a data center like GPS, where the cloud service provider is already present, just take a connection and then you get DR on the cloud. The advantage is that since you are connected to the cloud over a LAN connect, then you can upskill and downscale a bandwidth. Now, say for instance, I don't know, Suresh, where his DAC and DR is. And say for instance, let me give a hypothetical story where he has a 20 petabyte of data in his primary, and his primary storage crashes. And he has to download 20 petabyte from his secondary on the cloud on his primary. It would take him ages on his 500 meg link. And if he goes to a internet service provider or a telecom service provider, hey, can you give me a 10 gig link for 1 week or 10 weeks? He said, sorry, it will take me 6 weeks to give that link, and then you need to take it for 1 year. Instead, if you are in a hyper-connected data center like us and you are connected over a LAN cable, you can go to the AWS console, upgrade your bandwidth from 500 meg to 10 gig, download all that from DR on cloud to your on-prem, and then bring it down again from 10 gig to 500. That's the flexibility we are talking of when you are leveraging the benefits of a hyper-connected data center. So you not only have to have a strategy of how to go to cloud, but also how you interconnect with the cloud is going to be very critical.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manoj. I think to round this off, right, I think all I'm going to say is I'm going to quote, I was saying this gentleman that I talk about, Abhijit Verma. You can look him up on LinkedIn. Fabulous wordsmith, talks a lot about all of these clouds. So I'm going to quote him verbatim almost to say, thou shalt cloud, come hell or high water, right? And when thou clouds, thou shalt cloud a lot. And when thou clouds a lot, thou shalt multi-cloud. I think that in a nutshell, tunnel vision is where the future is. I'm going to, Isha is already here to keep us honest on the time. So I'm going to round it off by saying thank you so much. Suresh, we will hold you to your promise of giving all four of us here a test ride of an AMG, right? That's going to happen. We will land up in Pune. Isha, thank you so much as always for making this pleasant.